Hello everyone. Thank you all for taking the time to join us today. I'm Sai Lakshmi and I'm a product expert for ManageEngine Analytics Plus. Before we jump into the webinar, let me share some quick information with you. So during the course of this webinar, if you have any questions, you can use the chat icon on the left panel of your screen to type in your questions. I'll try to answer your questions by the end of the webinar, and in case we're short on time, I'll respond to your questions through email. All right, let's get started. Now, we all know what cybersecurity is. It's the practice of defending your IT assets, including laptops, desktops, servers, and networks from cyber attacks. We also know why cybersecurity is important, because without it, we risk losing not only our valuable data and revenue, but also our reputation. So we have multiple monitoring tools to keep track of our applications, networks, endpoints, and IoT devices. Despite that, organizations continue to struggle to achieve 100% security. Now, why do you think that happens? We asked this question to about 1,400 IT leaders, and here's their response. 8% of the respondents said that getting visibility into IT assets is a huge challenge. 10 years ago, the average office worker had one device, either a desktop or a laptop, that runs mostly on the default Windows operating system. Today, the average corporate worker uses about 2 to 4 devices to carry out his day-to-day tasks. This includes a laptop, a desktop, a mobile phone, and even a tablet. Now, each of these devices run on various operating systems from Windows, Linux to Mac operating systems. With so many flavors and configurations, it becomes difficult to keep track of them all. 11% of respondents said that an ever-increasing attack surface is a major challenge. Now, because of the pandemic-induced work-from-home option, we see a lot of personal devices being used for work. This has increased the total attack surface available for cyber threats. Even corporate-owned devices are no longer within the boundaries of the organization's security perimeter. This means that existing security controls such as firewalls can no longer provide the same level of protection that they used to. Next up, 27% of the respondents said that detecting vulnerabilities in real time is a major challenge. There are just too many devices and too many vulnerabilities. We have malware, spywares, worms, Trojan horses, DOS attacks, SQL injections, and many more. Did you know that pandemic-related phishing campaigns are on the rise this year? Cybercriminals are using phishing emails to lure unsuspecting people to click on malicious links using the concept of COVID-19 and the worries around public health. And 25% of the respondents said that even if they do manage to detect vulnerabilities in real time, understanding vulnerabilities and prioritizing them based on business impact is a huge challenge. Finally, we have communication. About 7% of the respondents said that once vulnerabilities are detected, it's important that security teams quickly pass on the information to IT teams so that they can apply patches and seal the security gaps. In this webinar, we'll see how we can address some of these challenges. First, let's start with understanding and prioritizing vulnerabilities, because that's a huge challenge for more than 50% of respondents. To help prioritize vulnerabilities, you can use what we call the asset vulnerability score. Now, this is a measure of how vulnerable an asset or an endpoint is to external as well as internal threats. For example, let's say you have an iPhone that is non-compliant with password policies and it has one prohibited app installed in it, which means it has 2 vulnerabilities. So naturally, its asset vulnerability score would be 2. Now, let's say we have another device, a Windows laptop, that's missing about 7 critical security patches, and it has 3 outdated software, and it also lacks the BitLocker encryption. So it has 11 vulnerabilities. So its asset vulnerability score would be 11. Naturally, this means that the laptop is at a greater risk of exposure to threats and it's more exploitable. So the laptop needs to be secured first. Asset vulnerability can be customized to give a greater score to certain critical vulnerabilities. For example, if an organization wants to attach a higher weightage to missing security patches and lesser weightage to prohibited software installations, you can set such variations using analytics. Now, here's how you can visualize the asset vulnerability score. This report gives you the vulnerability scores of the various assets in use. You can see that in Austin, Texas, you have an iPhone with a vulnerability score of 19. Naturally, bigger the bubble, bigger is the particular device's vulnerability score, which means that this device is vulnerable and highly exploitable and that it needs to be secured immediately. Hover on top of the bubble to view more details. You can also use the filtering options to filter out by ownership. You can either view results for the corporate owned devices or personal owned devices. You can also use the filter option to view results for different locations. The purpose of this report is to quantify the vulnerability or exploitability of assets within an organization. This can help IT teams prioritize the assets that are most vulnerable and remedy them first. Now, let me show you another version of the same report. In the previous report, we saw that asset vulnerability score of each asset used in the organization. Now, because I chose a small sample for my data, the report does not look cluttered. For a large organization that has several assets, the report is going to look very cluttered. The bubble chart is going to be very cluttered and hard to read. So I've summarized the previous report into different tiers based on the asset vulnerability score. So let me just quickly explain the report to you. On the x-axis, we have the various asset types, and on the y-axis, we have the number of assets, and these assets are categorized into different tiers based on the asset vulnerability score. So here we have a Windows tablet where two of those Windows tablets have a lower vulnerability score that is between 0 to 3. And we have 8 tabs with a slightly higher vulnerability score of 4 to 6. And we have about 19 tablets which are at a vulnerability score of 7 to 10. And we have about 13 tabs which have a vulnerability score of 14 and above. Now, this can help you prioritize vulnerabilities and attend to the ones that are most severe or critical. Now, you must be curious as to how I arrived at these vulnerability scores. Well, I detected these vulnerabilities in real time using analytics. Let me show you how. So typically, security threats have two entry points into your organization, through endpoints and end users. Find out vulnerabilities within these entry points and secure them, and you can easily secure your organization. When it comes to securing endpoints, there are 2 steps. First, keep a real-time inventory of all hardware and software assets. Second, get visibility into device peripherals. Now let's take a look at the first step, that is keeping a real-time inventory of endpoints. Having complete visibility into endpoints eliminates blind spots and helps you get a clear picture of your complete attack surface. This makes it easy for the security team and the IT team to identify vulnerabilities in real time by answering important questions such as how many devices do we have and what are their health statuses? Where are these devices being used? And how many of these devices are corporate owned and how many of them are personal devices? Who are the technicians in charge of them? How many of these devices are unmanaged? And how many of them were not contacted by monitoring applications? Now, let me show you how you can get answers to these questions using analytics. In the first report, we have the split of corporate and personal devices based on their operating system. Our next report gives you the list of endpoints by operating system. This helps you understand the various flavors and versions of operating systems that are currently in use. Next, we have the device geolocations and managed computers by location. These two reports tell you where your devices currently are and if they are being managed by your IT. When 80% of your employees are working from home, tagging endpoint devices in a map makes it easier to raise an alarm when a device leaves its designated area. This enables you to lock it down remotely or even selectively wipe the device clean of all corporate data. Now, the next report we have is the time period since the devices had last contact with the endpoint management application's server. Needless to say, the longer the devices go without contact, the harder it gets to get a hold of them and apply patches in case of threats. The last report in our dashboard gives you the split up of devices owned by various technicians. Now, here's how this report can actually help. When you spot a critical vulnerability that needs immediate remediation, it saves time if you know the technician who's in charge of them. Now, doubling back to the steps to secure endpoints, the second step is to get visibility into your device peripherals. Device peripherals refer to both privileges and applications that grant devices the ability to connect to the world outside of the organization's security network. In short, device peripherals are agents that expose the device's vulnerabilities to threat actors. The first item on our list is devices without critical restrictions. Devices that are missing critical restrictions are 5 times more likely to fall prey to a security threat because they're more vulnerable. Lack of simple restrictions like connecting to Bluetooth or access to camera or access to cellular data can prove costly for the organization. Take USB access for instance. If you can connect a pen drive to a computer that is in turn connected to a secure server in your organization, then you can easily download data from the server onto the pen drive. These days, IoT devices like Raspberry Pi and BeagleBone can be connected to computers using their USB ports. These are tiny, affordable, single-board computers that fit into your pocket but can perform complex tasks ranging from playing chess to building a model of an international space station. There are not a lot of ways to catch these devices being used in your computers, but you can certainly limit their usage. Because these devices connect to computers using USB ports, limit the number of computers with USB access in your organization. For those computers that do need access to USB ports, track the number, frequency, and duration of USB connections. Let me show you the reports. This report shows computers with the most USB connections. It's not necessary to flag computers with too many USB connections as a security hazard, but it's always good to have an idea of the actual number of USB connections that are in use. The next report gives you a view of user accounts that are often associated with USB connections. In short, these are users who frequently connect their USB devices to their computers. The next report shows you the duration of USB connections. You can see that several computers with USB connections for over 90,000 seconds. Now, we need to check in with these device owners and figure out the reasons for such lengthy USB connections. Now, let's go back to our presentation. Now, the second item on our list is endpoints that are missing critical security updates. Now, security patches are the bridge between data and security. As the number of security threats increase, vendors who sell operating systems and applications come up with patches to defend their software from these threats. By applying these vendor-issued patches, organizations can secure their IT devices at practically zero cost. Without these patches, applications and systems become vulnerable to attacks. Let's move on to reports. Now, one of the best ways you can see if your endpoints are patched and up to date is to check the number of missing patches. This report gives you the total number of endpoints that are missing various security patches, meaning these are devices that are vulnerable to external threat actors. One thing to note about applying patches is that the time frame between when a patch is released and when the patch is applied to computers. Because time is of the essence when it comes to security patches. The Warner Crypto ransomware cyber attack that happened in 2017 is an example of what happens when patches aren't scheduled on time. About 200,000 computers across 150 countries were hacked into by exploiting a vulnerability in Microsoft operating system, causing millions of dollars in punitive damages. This happened despite the fact that Microsoft released the patch update 1 month prior to the incident. A good way to monitor this is to look into patch deployment by release timeframes. This report gives you the percentage of patches that were applied within 30 days, 31 to 60 days, 61 to 90 days, and more than 90 days. In my report, nearly 60% of patches were applied 91 days after their release. Proper patch management is a low-hanging fruit that organizations can use to fix vulnerabilities and ensure data security. It's understandable that tracking and applying patches every Patch Tuesday is a lot of work, given that your IT team is already overworked. Now, there are two things that you can do here. One is the most obvious, that is, you can automate patch deployment, and the other is to get real-time updates on patch releases. You can do this by embedding the web page of your application vendor where they post security updates into your dashboard. This way, you can easily get patch release information in your dashboard. To demonstrate, I've already added Microsoft Security Update Guide in my dashboard. This is a web page hosted by Microsoft wherein they post the latest updates on patches and software vulnerabilities. You can now get information on the latest patches that were released simply by looking up this dashboard. Let's go back to our presentation. Next, we need to look into devices that have disabled the BitLocker encryption and devices that are using blacklisted applications. Let's move on to the reports. Windows encrypting file system such as BitLocker enables organizations to protect confidential data from attackers by encoding logical drives. When a file is moved into a drive which is protected by the BitLocker encryption, that file will be automatically encrypted. This ensures complete data security for the files stored in computers in the event of a breach. This report gives you a list of computers that have disabled the BitLocker encryption. The next report is devices that are using blacklisted applications. Often, corporate devices such as mobile phone or tablets also double up as employees' personal devices, meaning users can install applications in these devices that are not directly related to work. For example, applications like Netflix, Amazon, or Spotify. While these applications don't impact security directly, it's always important to keep a tab of the number and type of blacklisted applications that are installed by end users. At the beginning of the session, I told you that security threats occur due to vulnerabilities with the endpoints or end users. So far, we've discussed endpoint vulnerabilities that compromise security. Now let's see how end users compromise security. Generally, threats due to end users fall into two broad categories, that is accidental and intentional threats. Accidental threats include users not following passcode policies, not using VPN while connecting to secure networks or servers, and not using multi-factor authentication while logging into critical systems. Such accidental behavior are easy to catch. Now, here's a report that shows you the split of endpoints that are password compliant and not compliant by the various operating systems. The second type of threat, that is malicious threat, is also called as insider threats that can be monitored by tracking regular usage patterns, behaviors, and watching out for anomalies. Let me show you a couple of reports. This report shows you the list of users who've logged onto their systems during non-business hours. Typically, not all these logons can be classified as a security hazard. They could be due to several reasons, such as users extending work outside of work hours or logging on early to compensate for lost work hours. However, from a security standpoint, it's always necessary to keep track of such deviations from normal behavior. Malicious insiders who intend to steal data from the organization never do it in one go. They usually steal data in short but frequent spurts. So tracking the total hours users have logged on to shared accounts will help you spot such behavior. As per my report, one particular user, that is MDM 385, has logged on to his computer a good 40% more than the others. Malicious insider activity is easy to catch if you keep track of user behavior and stay vigilant of anomalies. When it comes to cybersecurity, there's no substitute to well-informed, trained, and security-aware employees. Technology alone cannot provide 100% cover against threats, but training employees to be security heroes can. Also, it's much easier to educate employees on the type of emails or links that they shouldn't click on rather than have security teams hunt and fix several such issues. Employee awareness is an advanced and scalable way of preventing security issues from ever happening. If you're considering setting up a security awareness training in your organization, do so now and then track the results. Track the number of employees who've completed their training and check their scores. Let me quickly show you the reports. This report shows you the percentage of employees who've completed the training and assessment program by the departments that they belong to. The next report shows you the scores of bottom 10 employees and compares them against the organization's average score marked by this threshold line. There's generally a reluctance to take up the security awareness training as this is a slow approach and doesn't yield instant results. However, you can track the return on investment of these training sessions by tracking the number of security incidents raised by employees before and after taking up the training session. From this report, you can see that there's an increase in security incidents since July. This is when we had our security training. We're almost at the end of our webinar, so let me quickly summarize everything that we've discussed so far. Typically, security threats occur as a result of vulnerabilities within endpoints or end users. Threat actors tend to exploit vulnerabilities in your computers, laptops, tablets, and mobile phones. You can detect these vulnerabilities early on by thoroughly analyzing your inventory and looking for security gaps and weak spots. You can also analyze user behavior to catch anomalous or suspicious user activities. Leverage analytics to help you classify and prioritize vulnerabilities so you can attend to critical ones first. Train your employees periodically to ensure 100% data security. The reports and dashboards that I showed you during the session were built using Analytics Plus, ManageEngine's IT analytics application. Analytics Plus integrates out of the box with Desktop Central, Patch Manager Plus, Mobile Device Manager, Service Desk Plus, App Manager, Applications Manager, and also with other IT applications such as ServiceNow, Jira Software, and Zendesk. If you don't see your application on the screen, just leave a +1 in the chat icon on the left side panel, and I'll get in touch with you to show you how you can integrate your application with Analytics Plus using APIs. Using Analytics Plus, you can get out-of-the-box security analytics with over 200 reports and dashboards. You can assess endpoint vulnerabilities and threats in real time, such as devices that are missing critical patches, devices with outdated software, and jailbroken devices. You can chart action plans to secure endpoints by assessing the nature and impact of security threats using artificial intelligence. You can set up and receive real-time alerts to track anomalies in user behavior and endpoint behavior to quickly detect intrusions, attacks, misuse, or infections. You can leverage analytics to analyze past threats using historical endpoint data to prevent future attacks. Using Analytics Plus, you can blend endpoint monitoring data with incident data from your help desk and create unified dashboards to visualize the impact of security threats on your organization. Using Analytics Plus, you can share reports to other users, you can tag other users and communicate with them in real time from within the application. You can schedule report runs and you can receive security reports in your inbox. If you're interested in trying Analytics Plus, scan the QR code flashing on your screen to get started with a free 30-day trial of Analytics Plus. Now, that's all I have from my end. Thank you all for taking the time to attend this session. I hope you found the session helpful. So, if you have any questions or if you're interested in learning more about Analytics Plus, do write to me using the email ID on your screen. I'd love to talk to you about the latest trends and solutions in IT security and IT analytics. Thank you guys. Have a great day.